All right, on this edition of What's in a Game, we are going to be transitioning to Olympic basketball, and we brought in a great guest in Voja Medic to help us out, get familiar with the different style of Olympic basketball, different rosters. We'll go over teams and players to watch, and then we'll have a little fun at the end and do a snake draft that's designed to putting together a roster to compete with the United States. Excited for this one. All right, welcome to What's in a Game. I'm here with Grace Jean, of course, as always, and then our guest, Voja Medic. Thank you so much for coming, Voja. Huge friend of ours on Twitter and former host of Serbian Corner and invented Sombor Double, which every Nuggets fan knows. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is gonna be fun. I love summer FIBA time. So let's get into it.
Yeah, actually, before we get into the actual Olympic discussion, I know all three of us, we're recording this a couple hours after the opening ceremony started. And so, Voy, I wanted to ask you, what did you think?
I'll go with my strongest take was I hated the boats. Like that was my like big take online too. I get you want to be different. Like maybe that may be because it's such a long river, maybe you get more people to watch from the sides. But I also, from the size standpoint of like looking at athletes, always my favorite thing was when they circle around the stadium, they go in and you have these countries that have like few people competing, and and then they zoom in on them. It's like one of the best achievements of their lives. And obviously even like a US, you get the stars, you can linger on stars, they can like you can see who's actually carrying the flags. So that was like my favorite parts of the openings was that. And you can like actually they can spread out, you can see how many participants in each country. Then the announcers have time to say, maybe like, oh, this person is going to compete in this event if they know if they're good announcers. So the boats were kind of weird, like the drone, and then it started raining, and it just kind of I just didn't like it. That was my like main point.
But at least LeBron gets his like image of crossing the Delaware that he
I know
wanted.
That's exactly what they look
Oh
like.
no. That's right, you're so right. And we got the Halliburton like telling Embiid to return his passport. I don't know if you guys saw
Oh no,
that.
he did.
He did. I don't know why. Like it was just like a clip of Halliburton being like, he wasn't waving the little flags. He's like, return your passport.
So I think that was because I think it was yesterday. There were some clips circulating of Embiid being like told by like bitter French sports fans that. So I think Halliburton was like trying to make light of it, trying to make a joke of it, and like maybe perk Embiid up, because I think that's kind of shitty to go through.
I don't understand it. It's France. Like it's. I mean, sure,
yeah,
like,
yeah, because
like,
they were all. Yeah. The whole thing was that they were mad because like the big profile that came out, that was like the tell-all of like how Embiid duped France into giving him a passport and then didn't join Team France, whatever. Like, I don't care about the French like that. I think they were being incredibly petty, and that was not fun to watch. So I think Halliburton was probably just trying to perk him up after that. Before we get into our Olympic discussion, we got to talk about the big news item, because we got lucky enough in that the Nuggets finally signed Russell Westbrook before one of our podcasts instead of some news coming out a few hours after. It's a 2-year deal. It's a vet minimum deal with a player option in the second year. The just little technical detail about that is, I think it was last episode I talked about how with a vet minimum, part of that is subsidized by like the league, so you don't get the full cap hit of the vet minimum on your books. Because Russell Westbrook's vet minimum is a 2-year deal, they get no subsidy on that, so the Nuggets get the full $3.3 million cap hit on them. Voja, I have to ask you, what was your reaction when you first heard that Jokic was apparently interested in the Nuggets pursuing Russell Westbrook?
I wasn't surprised, because with Jokic, it's like he's like a very like if you're good with him, like he'll roll with you, and especially like he likes that. I mean, we all like that. The one thing about Westbrook, like you can like him or hate him in different ways of basketball, but like he does try and he cares. And so if that's what Jokic wants around him, like I'm not surprised. But also there is like there were years of like talk about like they both like talked about each other being like good guys and played well and right. And on the All-Star, there was that one story with the birthday present. Yeah, so like I'm not surprised that he wanted him. It's like obviously like I don't know the fit, whatever. Like we can discuss that, or or you guys will do that at some point. I'm surprised it's a team, like it was supposed to be a team option initially, and then it's a player option. Alec had a good joke, like it's because of the training facility, so they got to give all these like player
sure
options.
That it was ever going to be a team option, to be honest. I didn't really buy those reports. That just doesn't make any sense. If there was going to be a team option, it was going to be a 1-year deal.
Yeah, and he did that with Clippers, right? He did 1+1 with the player option, and he did in, so he can at least get. I mean, it's not horrible, like I mean, but that's the thing is, it doesn't matter if he plays well. He's going to decline and go somewhere else when someone's going to pay him. If he doesn't play well, he'll resign and either get traded or cut or whatever, or like just be on the roster. So it ultimately doesn't matter as long as if he's good next year. That's all that matters.
And then hopefully it buys us time to figure out the backup point guard situation in the meantime. But I'm hoping for the best with Russ. But now that he is here, you are like, joining the party a little bit and getting into the excitement.
So for the audio listeners, it was I think this was sometime last week. Voja tweeted out, "I will not be tricked into Westbrook hype. I will not be tricked into Westbrook." Well, let's go Westbrook. So here we are, and you mentioned briefly there that you have your questions about fit. I think Will and I have actually talked pretty extensively about this because he's been rumored to come to the Nuggets for weeks now.
A long time, yeah.
So our listeners and viewers can check out any one of our other Westbrook videos to hear our thoughts on the fit. But I'm curious, now that you've come over to the dark side, we're all on the Cope train now. Yeah. What are your thoughts about Russ's fit in Denver? What can he bring? What are some of the pitfalls? And how do you feel sort of overall, like scale of 1 to 10 in terms of what he can contribute?
Like 3. Enthusiasm, like that's good for like a Westbrook. I was never like that big of a Westbrook guy. Just again, he does really good things, and then he does some things that just negate everything that he did in Denver. It's kind of interesting. Obviously, from the bench, there's not really much. There's no way but up almost. Which I mean, he would be a guy if it's gonna get worse on the bench. Like he might be the guy to do it, but I really don't think I would get worse. He can, he'll try hard. There's some players around him that he might be okay with. It just, my thing is more how much he's going to play actually, because he tries so hard. If Malone's gonna just be like, screw it, like you guys are, this is the guy that tries the hardest, so I'm just gonna keep him in and close games with him, like do the Facu. He plays like 22 out of 24 minutes in the second half kind of thing. At some point, I don't know. I mean, I can see it go okay, but if it's basically same as Reggie with a little bit more try hard, I'm fine with that.
If you haven't, please go check out our thoughts on Russ, and this is going to be a story we'll get into like more in the offseason possibly, but we have a full summer of Olympic basketball, thankfully. Before we jump into that, let's briefly cover a little bit of the sports and media rights deal that the NBA just went through, because there's some drama going on with that. Obviously, TNT is in a little bit of a dispute with the NBA after trying to match an offer from Amazon. They'll be litigating whether that offer matched and all of those details, the nitty gritty. But Grace, if you want to outline some of this and get some thoughts on it.
Yeah, so the NBA signed a giant new media rights deal around what had been rumored for the last few weeks that's going to carry them through the next decade, basically. I believe it's $77 billion over the next decade, so about $7.7 billion per year. And this handy chart from Sports Ball, great visualization, sports data visualization account on Twitter, kind of shows how that's been divvied up between the 3 major media partners in this deal. That's Disney, so that's going to be ESPN and ABC, NBC, and Amazon Prime Video. So NBC and Amazon are the new members of the media umbrella, and they basically replace what was like TNT and everything TNT associated, which is why TNT is mad now, right? But you're going to have both sides arguing whether or not TNT actually matched than Amazon or not. But the way that this is going to work is that Amazon is going to get things like IST. They're going to get Summer League, apparently, according to this chart as well. And then NBC joining means that there will be dedicated days on NBC for primetime games, as well as Peacock for primetime games as well. I know there were a lot of people that were a little up in arms about losing Inside NBA. Voja, do you have any thoughts about losing TNT in general and losing Inside NBA in particular?
As far as the Mondays, I was going to ask, like I saw that they were talking about it's NBC affiliate. So does that even mean that it's going to be national? So is it like NBC Philadelphia and like he's going to put Philadelphia games on like they already did? Like that's the part I'm like, that one I don't understand. And then obviously Peacock. I love when they call those national games when it's like a subscription that's separate from anything you can get on a TV package. And it's the same thing, Amazon Thursdays. So it's like, all 7 days, whatever is going to be on national TV. It's like, no, it won't. Like it's still streaming. And as far as TNT, I mean, Zaslav. Like we know, like he canceled movies for tax write-off. So like he was going to penny pinch to the last moment with this, and he thought he was going to just like, that's fine, I can just match it. Or he didn't have enough people to like tell him there was like some things that NBA can get out of and sign with someone else. As far as Inside the TNT, like I really do wonder if people on Twitter, when they're up in arms, they actually like are the ones watching, or they're just seeing clips in like 10-second clips of like Barkley being funny and Shaq. And so I personally don't watch. Yeah, I watch games on mute generally. Like I shifted a few years back. So I just usually put on a laptop and then I put something else on TV. So I just skip, like even before I skipped halftime shows, in post-game shows, like that's not something that interests me that much. So I really don't care.
You're more about the accessibility, like how easy is it for me to be able to access the actual game?
It's like should be a hub. I mean, they should have nationalized the League Pass if they're going to do it, and that's it. Like you can get League Pass on multiple places. Probably now it's like, you could probably put it on Amazon like you could with YouTube TV, like you could with cable, like as a ad package. And because YouTube TV, you can have like HBO Max and all these things as an add-on, which is just so you have a one hub. So I wonder if that's what's going to happen. But then they still black out League Pass anyway. So I just know it's just so many like, places to catch, and a lot of people are just going to end up pirating again, like they did it with League Pass for years.
I think that's about right. I'm trying to think of like the biggest positives of this new media deal, I guess, compared to the last one. One of the things that stands out for me is that there are fewer ESPN games. Just generally, that's a good thing. Although, it seems like because of all of the turnover they've had with their calling crew on site at games, that Tim Legler might actually be getting like a bigger role in the next couple of years. So that's kind of like no, as soon as there's less games, that's what Tim is.
Is he even on the halftime stuff and on NBA Countdown? I don't really watch that anymore, but like,
no,
that's
he's
the
not.
biggest reason I hate those games.
Everyone else would look stupid if he was on there. Like, you don't want that.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't have enough time to even like describe an idea because they just say one sentence and they
put him like with it where it's like the best. They put him in the SVP after the games, and it's like everyone else goes like, oh, this is how it could be. Like
yeah, exactly. It sounds like he might be involved in, they're trying to do like an NBA version of like the NFL Red Zone.
Whoa, that would be sweet.
With Legler. Like, at least he's on like the thumbnails for all those news stories. I would imagine that like who else is going to be like the go-to guy at that network if they do that.
Also, another thing you talked about with the turnover, like he might be the only one left that knows like what the closing lineup of Orlando Magic is. Like if you put one of the Stephen A's or something, like they won't know the players. They'll just be like, "Oh, that guy! Like great job! Like big rebound."
Right.
Yeah.
Where's Embiid going after he's unsatisfied with the Philly situation?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to NBC, I'm not really sure what to like expect from them. It's been a very long time since they had the NBA rights, so I'm curious how they're gonna who they're gonna be hiring to shape the broadcast crew, the atmosphere of it all, and everything. All of this, I don't know if it's going to work, but I do know that it made the NBA a lot of money because $77 billion is a lot, and the salary cap is not going to be able to keep up with all this money.
Stars can start taking discounts. As we're seeing.
That's true. They can start taking discounts.
$50 million. That's gonna be fun.
The last point about this that I just wanted to make, when it comes to the playoffs, that becomes even more fragmented, right? Like that's the time when everybody should be watching like as many games as possible. But I don't know that it will be if there are 3 different places that they have to go to get games. And really it's 4 because it's ABC or 5. ABC, ESPN, NBC, Peacock, and Amazon. And games will be kind of,
And what about
spliced
NBA
throughout all of
TV in that
those.
situation? Like, are they
That's
out?
right. So that's another question that's still left, is that NBA TV will be part of this in some way, but that role is currently undefined. That's just like
Or is
another
it
thing
going to
that's
be,
going to
oh,
have to
this
be
is a
sorted.
Cleveland NBA TV game or a Peacock game, like Peacock series?
Yeah, no, these are all very good questions. All we know right now is how many games each network gets every year. And we don't even know that technically because there's still a lawsuit that needs to be resolved. Will, did you have any last thoughts on the media deal?
Just, Nuggets fans already kind of struggle with pirating and, trying to even watch their games. So maybe the rest of the league and fans, depending on how this shakes out, can feel some of our pain. But I always want more fans to be able to watch
That's
the
right,
games,
because of that dispute.
We still have one more season of Inside the NBA. Charles said he was going to retire no matter what, which I kind of really only watched it for him.
I'll miss Kevin Harlan, though.
Yeah, Kevin
I don't watch
Harlan's
games
awesome.
on mute, and
You don't
I'm
think they're
going to
going
miss
to buy
Kevin
him
Harlan.
off for NBA? Like,
NBC should absolutely get Kevin Harlan, like wrestle him away from TNT.
Yeah. I suspected they'd like poach some of this talent.
it's going to be interesting what Amazon does, because NBC's kind of has, they have Maria Taylor there. Amazon's the interesting one because they can throw some money at and like kind of like do what Curb Street was doing, like half and half, and then All Michaels he ended up just going to Amazon. So whatever. Let's get interesting with basketball.
Yeah, no, let's talk about some basketball. So for anybody that isn't aware, Voja is Serbian, right? You come from a country that has a really rich basketball history and legacy and a lot of national pride when it comes to that sport in particular. So actually, I wanted to know, for, a youngish millennial basketball fan from Serbia, what are some of the ways that that rich sort of cultural legacy manifested itself in like when you were growing up?
It's, for me, basketball was everything just from the start. Like I was dribbling that basketball since I was 3, so like before I even knew like the names that were like in the history. So like you go in, and I was 8 when they won the World Cup in Indianapolis. So that was like a huge deal. After that, like all the basketball courts were renovated. The sponsor of that World Cup, like they were on the shirt, so all the courts were like in there. It's like a pop type of drink. So they're all renovated courts in our neighborhood. Everyone was like excited. So all these players, and then like all these players before, and your parents. Your parents talk to you about them. Like you go outside, like it's everything. I mean, not just basketball. It's like all the sports. Like Olympics come, and we're all like, let's see the kayak go. Like it's just, we just love the winning. We love, like Jokic said, like it's like a lot of people love winning sometimes more than the sport itself. But it's more like that. Like it's just everything is about sports as like a side life, I guess, and sometimes like primary life for people. Just like you run away from like class to like go watch games, or like you watch in class, secretly eventually, like when we had phones, to like watch games like that. I still remember, like, everyone was watching some NBA games during night, and then like, oh, it's the World Cup in soccer, like you get up and watch Germany, Serbia. So like everything about sports is like affects your like childhood. And for me, basketball is just everything. So it affected like from just from developmental, like physical, mental. I was from basketball from 7 years old to like, I mean, obviously now, but like as playing wise, till I was 19. So then I got to US, so it was a bit different. But and we knew, I mean, all these players now, they're playing for the national team. Like I'm the same age as them, so like we knew we kind of known about them since they were like younger. Like Jokic was a thing we heard about. Like, oh my god, so like some kid did some stats. Like one of the guys, like Dobrich, we played against them like when we were like 3rd, 4th grade. Like, so
wow.
So you're like, some of these now, it's like some of these guys are like personally like, man, I want that guy to succeed. Like we were same age. Like it's kind of our generation. So that way it affects it. And then just the everything's about the team. That's like a one big thing too. That's why Jokic is like he is. Like it's just you learn that way. Like there's no superstars. Like you don't the super if someone wants to act like a superstar, they're really like within a team taken down of like it's not about you, it's about us. So that's like a big factor. So that's how you see like this type of play that he plays and this type of play that Serbia plays.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on it a little bit with some of the guys that you've been following since. I mean, they're all your age, right? It's been
Yeah.
since you were a teenager, and you talk a lot about how much you love watching international basketball even now. Can you just kind of expound on your relationship with the international professional game? Like since you were so young, watching guys like Milutinov and Dobrich, like you say.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, like as FIBA basketball goes, like NBA is obviously like the best, highest quality, but there's nothing like it when summer hits and these tournaments starts. First, like the elimination games are one game, so you're on pins and needles the entire time. Obviously,
Yeah.
like big factors that Serbia was good in a lot of these tournaments. From like
Yeah.
we did really good
Winning
in
is fun.
2010. Yeah, exactly, exactly. And so we were good in like 2008 was like a breakouts year for like in the Euros. We were in the finals. Teodosic had like a breakout tournament there. A bunch of these like young guys, one of the younger teams ever to reach the final. And then 2 years later, it's the Turkey World Cup. Like obviously, like we love. There's like one thing we love winning, and the second thing is like to complain that someone stole it from us. So the 2010 is like the one that was like a big egregious like semifinal against Turkey in Turkey. So it was like a lot of stuff going on.
Mm.
And then from there, you just
Ooh.
kind of like the.
I have some stuff against Turkey and figure skating, so we can relate on that.
Nice.
There you go. Yeah, it was like a big deal. It was like the guy like stepped out of bounds on a winning play, and like the ref was just looked at it and waved it off, kind of thing. Obviously, US won. Like that's why. So another thing is why I love FIBA basketball is because, especially for US, should look at it more seriously because you can track a lot of these players. Breakout years came after the summers when they had to go and practice against each other, play with, and then play against the best players out there. It doesn't matter if they like won everything. It's just that they still had to go. It's a one elimination. And after that 2010, you had the Rose MVP, Tyson Chandler, and within 2 years, he was like an all-D player, like the defensive player of the year. Durant, like that was like his year. Westbrook, all these guys were young and they all exploded. And I do like that's my firm belief. Like the FIBA basketball really does help even with like US players. And then again, personally, just for Serbia stand, like I love because I especially when I came to US, I don't have the time to watch a lot of these guys during the regular season because they're in the middle of the day here, and it's like your work, your school, so I don't catch up with those games. So now like I love to catch up with them during the summer. I'm like, oh, they're back together. Like let me see guys again, and I can't underline this more. Like one elimination game is insane. I mean, best out of 4 eventually, like it can wear you down. Like that one game though, that like elation if you win that single elimination, you beat Canada in the semifinal last year with like a lot of your best players not playing. You're like that's the adrenaline you want. So that you can get that high from an NBA game as much as I love the NBA game.
Yeah, we all love March Madness.
Exactly.
In this country. So you're getting it with the best players of the world, though. So
yep, exactly.
This is going to be awesome. Jokic is a phenom. He's a prodigy. He's the best player of the world. I am curious if you like how you viewed him before, when he was getting drafted and scouted. Like, were you aware of how good he was going to be? I know people talk about how it was kind of unpredictable, and even Malone and those dudes say no one knew that he was going to be like this.
Except Darrell Arthur, apparently.
Yeah. So you were, of course, going to follow him, where he was going to go. And so you've been a great like Nuggets fan and part of the Nuggets community. I'm wondering though, like, where were you at with the Jokic development, and were you following the NBA in general or like other Serbian players in the NBA, like as you were getting into that?
Yeah. I mean, NBA followed like way before. I mean, before, I don't know if we had Jaric and we had some guys like there, but it wasn't just Sacramento Kings. Obviously, was the first love for every like Serbian for NBA. Then that was that age, like 8, 9, like Stojakovic, Divac. When they won the World Cup, they were also in the in the NBA as the part of the Kings. So that was, I followed the NBA action, highlights, games whenever I had the replays at like 8-9 years old. So I followed everything, and then by 2010 I was old enough to like stay at 2-3 a.m. to like watch before going to school. So I still remember like Game 7, Celtics and Lakers, like that crazy game, and so years after, obviously. So I was aware of it. Nuggets were always like interesting, especially after traded Melo. So I really liked them after the Melo trade. I wasn't like that big of a fan before. I didn't care. I mean, it was ambivalent towards him. I really like what they did after Melo, and then I remember still like going. My routine was like I would go to NBA.com every morning, or after I go back to school, and just like go through all the highlights, go through the videos, articles when the website was actually good. That and NFL, like both of those. And so I would follow that, and I remember like, oh my God, they fired Carl? Like, that's crazy. But at that point, it wasn't following as much as now to know everything. But when Jokic got drafted, I was like, oh, cool, we got another guy. So I just followed everyone. And I knew he was good. I knew, again, like I knew him from high school. I knew of him from high school. But I didn't trust the NBA to actually like give him a chance. And that was like a big thing. Like I was like, there's no way they're giving him a chance.
It was kind of weird, right? He got red-shirted, kind of like they drafted him and then waited, or they were going to.
So that the stories. I mean, he tanked the game against one of the games and didn't get signed to Europe for that after. But he got drafted, still played in Noble League, like was really good, and they got him here. But again, I still didn't believe like they were look at him as more than just a Euro guy. And cute, like he can pass, but like he can't jump high, like he's not a dunker, he's not gonna protect the rim. And I never trusted I knew he was good. I didn't trust that people around him will like actually invest in him. And I know what happened to Bjelica when he got to Wolves. Like that's one of my biggest heartbreaks. Like watching him become what he became eventually. Similar kind of thing that happened to Šarić. Honestly, like speaking of our Nuggets now, like he was very much more versatile, and Bjelica was like even better version of that in Europe. And then he came to here, and Thibodeau's like, go in the corner, and you're a 3-corner guy, and just stifled every. And then and then you see him just like, okay, I got to buff up, I got to put some weight on, I got to be a 4 now, when he wasn't. So I was afraid Jokic is going to be that, but I still was following. So I still remember like we would text, oh man, he got an 8-6 this today. Like, oh my God, he scored a point. And eventually became like, he scored 50 now. Yeah.
It's like 1 point, 15 assists. Like
no, yeah. It's like that. We're like, you watch our guys like that. You're like, oh, he was in the game. Like, oh, he had like 8 points, 5 rebounds, like 4 assists. Let me check the highlights. I want to see how he looked. And then or like watch the game, and then you're like, pass him the ball. And obviously like but then he became what he became. So it's just. I'm very surprised. It's still one of the most improbable stories in the NBA. Just from, I can't believe they actually did it. Like, and it only could have been the Nuggets or some small market team like that. There's no way he could have gotten this in the Lakers or like big teams. Like, there's no way they would have felt the pressure from the outside to like, why are you playing this kid? Like,
to hand the reins like that.
There are two things with like those very early days of Jokic's story, right? Because you had. Josh Kroenke always tells the story of like, and our analytics people were coming to me and they're like, here's player A, player B. And player A was like Larry Bird and player B was Jokic. And look at this comparison, like his like rookie year, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that I wonder how much of him and how much he shines, particularly at the center position, they would have gotten to see if he wasn't selfless enough to say at one point, like, this whole starting with Nurkic thing isn't working, I want to go to the bench. And obviously it was after that they were like, man, this is like, he's our best player, he needs to start, and then Nurkic gets traded, right? But do they get to see what they saw from him as much if he doesn't go to the bench? And I know he started on the bench, obviously, right? But then they tried starting him next to Nurkic, and that wasn't working out.
He started. That's the thing. He started second half of the season when he came in, and then they're like, okay, let's try this out, because Jokic got hurt, and so he got the minutes,
right?
And he had the Olympics. So in the Olympics, he was playing for, I mean, he was much skinnier, which that was the irony of
Right.
like people called him fat then. I'm like, no.
I know, right?
He really
I'm always
wasn't.
looking at all these little
Like I met him, I have
pictures.
pictures
I'm
with
like,
him.
what?
I'm like thicker than he was back then. Like, you know, in, like 2016, like he was in Lincoln here for friendly with the Bulls, with the
nice.
Wolves again. But that was like that was the Olympics, and I remember watching, like, he scored like that, you know, had a really big game against US, against Cousins, Jordan. You're like, oh, he can do it. And that's when they put him on, I think we put him on the center that game more. But he still had minutes with like Raduljica and some of these like big guys. But now he's playing basically 4-5 combo with either Petrushov or Milutinov. Like, it's not like when it's good, it just,
I mean, he's playing 5 when it's Petrushov out there.
Sure. It's just like with Nurkic, it just didn't fit because they were, you know, in some cases similar, and obviously like slow-footed for the NBA style of four, especially when those years, like it was the Warriors years, like you can't.
It was a tough fit on both ends of the floor.
Right now, who knows? Like with the Wolves doing what they're doing, who knows if two of them maybe could have, because Jokic is determined that they could have worked in time.
Yeah,
but also he was like, it's not working now. Yeah.
But just because it works doesn't mean it's like optimal, it should, right?
Yeah.
Actually, so you live in Nebraska, right? And we just drafted, or not drafted, but signed Trey Alexander, right? He went to Creighton, which I didn't realize was in Nebraska. When I looked it up, I think it's in Omaha, actually.
It's a private
but
Omaha.
As our resident Nebraskan, I had to ask whether you were like totally shocked by what you saw from Trey in Summer League, where he was like, you know, our second best player or best player in every game.
Not really. I mean, Creighton spits out really sound players. It's more just like, again, just sometimes it's fit where they fit in. But yeah, he was really good. And Big East is like really good again, like as a conference. They retooled and somehow just again under the radar, but like they always had good teams, good structures. So I'm not that shocked. And I also like wouldn't. I mean, I'm the Trey, also one of the Trey hype guys. But also let's not get carried away either. Like, you know, Tyson was top 5 in some. It's just sometimes how it gets there. Like that week is so weird. Like you can have games like really well. Like, you know, maybe that week is really good for you. Like you built it up. Like because maybe for the draft they had to work out so long into the season, and then the guys from the off season were like, I need to rest from the NBA, but then now they have to play summer league, so maybe they're not in the best shape. Maybe they're not like present as much because I played in G League, I have a contract, like I don't need to. Why am I here? Basically, sometimes. Right. So I'm not shocked. Like, but also he's that type of player. Like he might actually be an NBA player. He might be PJ Dozier eventually.
Yeah, I guess like for me, it was more of a surprise that he went undrafted. Because
you're right. Yeah,
that's just like I liked him.
We had to put Bronny in there, so yeah.
That's right. That's right. I'm glad the Lakers didn't take him.
Yeah, true.
So I'm shocked, but I'm not upset about it. Will actually did a really great Trey compilation video that had all of our commentary, that we had throughout Summer League overlaid with some of his highlights. So I definitely encourage viewers to check that out on the YouTube channel. It's also on Twitter. Will, was there anything else that you wanted to ask Voja before we move on to Olympic basketball?
I could talk to Voja about many things, basketball and movies and, all that stuff, but we probably should move to actual Olympic basketball and jump into this.
We had a lot of questions from listeners about FIBA rules, the international teams, and all of that. So I've decided to interlace those questions with our whole explanation. And I thought we could get started with a question from YouTube, actually, that came just last night from Johnny Keene, who says, "Hi, great to see you covering the Olympics. Are there any differences in Olympic basketball compared to NBA rules?" Johnny, yes, there are. And we are about to cover all of them. The time differences are that instead of 4 12-minute quarters, there are 4 10-minute quarters. The timeout situation is that each team will have 2 in the first half, 3 in the second half. And then should a game go to overtime, each team gets 1 timeout. In FIBA, there is a 5 personal foul limit as opposed to 6 in the NBA before a player can get disqualified. And technical fouls, or they'll call them unsportsmanlike fouls, do count toward that 5 personal foul limit for the individual. So similar
I
to
think, just to jump in, I think
yeah,
it's
please.
unsportsmanlike would be like a flagrant that goes into a
Okay.
foul. The technical, I still is a technical. I'm not sure.
Okay.
They used to like they always
They're like
change those things.
sportsmanlike technicals, or
Yeah, they always change those because it used to be also a technical, and I also lost like track. Maybe now they're like went back to it is a foul. But like if a coach gets a technical or a player like argues and gets a technical, used to be that's a foul. I'm not sure anymore if they're adding that as fouls. But on
yeah.
sportsmanlike ones you're talking about, those would be like the transition foul, take fouls.
hmm
Those count. But they're also
As
like
fouls.
shot like a technical. You have two
Right.
free
You
throws
get
in a
the
ball. Yeah.
free
Two or
two
one,
free
yeah,
throws in
yeah.
possession.
Yeah.
I think it's 2 in FIBA. It's 1 in the NBA.
One in the, yeah.
And those fouls do count, like technical fouls count toward the personal foul limit. That's something very important to remember. So it's a lot easier, I guess, to get disqualified. And yeah, you already explained the take foul. So the last category is like spacing and defense, which kind of changes like how the game is actually played. So the court is 3 feet shorter in FIBA compared to the NBA. The 3-point line is also shorter, 22 feet, as opposed to it's like 23 and 0.75 in the NBA. And there is no defensive 3 seconds either. And the last major sort of defense rule is that basket interference or goaltending is kind of allowed, but only if the ball has already touched the rim. So there's no like rule about the cylinder or anything like that. You can't like hit the ball when it's still on its downward path, but as soon as it hits the rim, like it's basically fair game for either side. And the question about the spacing and defense rules that I wanted to discuss is whether it's the fact that the spacing is more cramped, the shorter 3-point line, the no defensive 3 seconds, allowing rim protectors to kind of camp out in the paint, or anyone to camp out in the paint if they want to on defense. Is that the reason that, at least to my eye, passing seems to be more favored in the FIBA game compared to the NBA game, where you get a lot more isolation, and it feels like isolation can be more successful in the NBA than in FIBA.
I think you're right. It's also like from a philosophical standpoint, we were always taught like the ball travels faster than even the guy with the ball dribbling. So that's also just gets into it. So everyone that's like much easier to like as to talk about like movement. But you're right. That defensive 3 seconds definitely like the cramped space. Like you have to. There's no other way. You can create that wall for Giannis like much nicer in FIBA basketball than you can in the NBA. And yeah, and then again because the 3-point line is what will be that like 1.5 foot, something like that, like
almost
shorter,
2 feet basically.
almost 2 feet,
yeah.
That also helps out, like you can't stretch it as much. And so I think you're right, like that's a good read.
It's so interesting, all these differences between this, where the Olympics are supposed to be like this pure sport like experience almost, like you don't have to wait for it to get out of the cylinder, and you can just like hit the ball. Like that seems very like instinctual, almost like when you're playing basketball, like you just like jump, swipe at the ball, like these rules that's it's like getting back to the roots of basketball a little bit, and it's not like helping the offenses be explosive just to create like fan engagement and stuff. It's even Luka Doncic, like he said, if you want to put advantages back in the defense's hand, just eliminate the defensive 3-second rule.
Yeah. That'll be the first one.
Yeah. I'm more interested to see the fans and if they prefer this style and if they feel like a palpable difference from the NBA when they're watching it. So you listeners who are watching this as you're watching the Olympic basketball, like let us know if you like these rules more and like what you'd keep, what you don't like. Because there's definitely some things to be learned, I think.
Yeah, it definitely just creates a different looking game, right? The reason that the NBA wants to, punish like transition stuff at all is so that you can get those like highlight plays in transition and dunks and things like that. You don't get those as much in FIBA. Often they'll like make a play on the ball.
Yeah.
Take this would-be transition take fouls, and then, let the defense reset in the half court, and teams will kind of live with that, as opposed to letting transition plays happen. That you don't see that as much in the NBA, right? And the same thing, basically the same thing in the half court with the no defensive 3 seconds. Like it's a lot easier to like run and dunk when you don't have like 3 guys zoning up on you. And Will, you and I pointed this out when we talked about how Team Canada looked versus Team USA. Yeah, Jamal struggled, but SGA didn't look great in that game, particularly on his isolation drives. And that's because Team USA was, understandably zoning up on him and really not allowing him to establish that rhythm if that was going to be the way that he attacked. So I think it's just a lot harder to go the one-on-one route in FIBA, regardless of how dominant a single player could be, just because of those rules.
It really like cuts out the athleticism as your main goal, main attribute,
advantage,
to have an advantage. Which is still. I mean, you saw LeBron like against Germany, you still
push through someone.
You still can do it,
right? It can cut it off to a degree,
but it cuts out all the bullshit though. Like he was playing, like I was enjoying watching LeBron since forever, like watching him play basketball in that game, and he took over. Like there's no flopping anymore. It's not gonna get free throws. Like this is like basketball. It's gonna she shot the 3, like clutch 3 off of great like reads. Then he took the ball inside, play defense, block some shots. Like it just, you're right. It kind of gets it down to like the basics, and then it does really make it fun for like eliminates that. Athleticism is the main part, and it really accentuates the team play and like the understanding of where people are and the reading those things in the game, like
and where you should be.
And you get
because spacing is more cramped. There's more of a premium on positioning, I guess, is one way to put it, right?
It can be so you're right. Like it can be like NBA is large. So like if you miss your position on the court by like 2 feet, like it doesn't matter ultimately that much during the regular season, especially in FIBA. Like if you're closer by 2 feet, your defender is closer by 2 feet based on the angles. The pass doesn't go as easily anymore. Like you can get through that line. Like all of a sudden you play, you're driving and it's 3 people around you because people weren't actually spacing in the right geometrical positions on the court. And it's really, that's what it gets to precision, preparation. You see a lot of the teams that do well sometimes. It just turns out like because they played so much time together and so they know each other. You had the Latvia last year being like really good in the tournament because that team was together for a while. So they just know each other. Serbia usually does well because of that too. It's just, we have a lot of like similar philosophy, so people already know. But then these guys also played each other since they were in high school, so like you don't even need like too much, catch up to actually be what they are. So I love it. Like it's so much fun from that perspective.
You have the whole idea of national pride depending on where you live, and this tournament will provide broader topics to talk about basketball too, and not just like the drama that we get into with the NBA. Like this conversation is already going to like, rule sets and, strategy. And that's what's going to be fun about covering this. So I hope people like get into it and enjoy watching it. And player development, the players in this tournament improve. They build relationships. Even like we've seen teams be built in the NBA because they play together on a national team, stuff like that. But let's talk a little bit about the structure too.
Yes, we really want to get into the actual teams. Well, you're talking about sidestepping these drama conversations, but I'm looking forward to international competition drama. Okay. As in basketball, when I follow figure skating, another Olympic sport, but a winter Olympic sport, one of my favorite things is to root against other countries as much as I root for my favorite players and teams. All right. So the basketball that we're talking about is men's 5x5. The reason that I wanted to clarify is that there is also 3x3 basketball as well. And obviously women in both of those disciplines, and Team USA is very strong in both of those as well. So I encourage people to watch them. We want to go over the structure of the men's 5x5 tournament. There are 2 kind of phases of this. There's group play or pool play, where each group has 4 teams in it, and they kind of do sort of a round robin style. They each play each other once. At the end of it, you get kind of points based on winning games and point differential, all of that. You get ranked within your group. The top 2 teams in each of the 3 groups moves on, and then there are 2 wild cards as well. There are tiebreakers involving your head-to-head record, your point differential, and I think like points scored becomes the next one, but usually it ends at point differential because that kind of rarely is a tie. And then after the pool play phase, the 8 teams move on to the knockout rounds. Now, these are the single elimination games where there is a quarterfinals, a semifinals, and a finals, as well as a bronze medal game. But now that we have the tournament rules, let's move on to the actual teams involved.
It's weird how they selected this year. They do they create
Random
new
draws,
groups,
right?
and it's random draws. Because it used to
Yeah.
be last one, or at least last one too, but 2016 for sure. It was 2 groups of 6, so you play like a bunch of games, and then it's 4 teams from each group go and just first from Group A what plays fourth in Group B, and so it's kind of crisscross. People should be ready for there's another random drawing that somehow has also some restrictions. So they don't want Canada and Australia playing again, for example, in the quarterfinals. So they want to at least make sure you can face your own group until the semis.
I see.
Kind of.
So that is included in that's a restriction of the random draw.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know because I did hear.
Yeah, first 3 go into one pool, they get drawn from there, and then it's second teams. I don't know. It's just
and they don't the top teams are separated out into different pools and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So
it's luck.
Yeah.
Exactly. But let's just quickly go over the groups. So Group A, where Jamal will be playing for Team Canada, has Canada, Greece, Australia, and Spain. Group B has France, Germany, Japan, and Brazil. Group C has Serbia, South Sudan, Puerto Rico, and Team USA. Voja, I wanted to know if you think that Group A is actually the group of death in all of this for any given team.
I think
because I kind of see all of these teams are as at least like a B team.
If I were to
grade it.
Yeah, and this is, this is for me at least all killer no filler tournament. It's one of the rare ones that happens in the Olympics. World Cup they started expanding because of it, but World Cup they kind of expanded too much. And this last one was basically until the quarterfinals. You didn't even have any actual fun. So it just from a drama standpoint, this is going to be really, really good because there's no, you can't slip up. You can't count on, oh well, fine, we'll win the next one, or we can time it. And especially because the basketball,
every game's important.
And basketball globally has become much better. So there's no you would have a team even in Puerto Rico, you have 1 or 2 good players, but they really didn't have a shot. Or Angola would play and it's cool, but they would lose by 20, possibly 30 to America, or 60 to America at one point, and then pretty easily to other teams. So at least you have oh, I know I'm gonna win this. There's no easy ones. Serbia should win against Puerto Rico and South Sudan comfortably. When you talk about what players they have and the style of play and everything, it's not guaranteed. Japan's has pretty decent group of people that can light it up. Brazil always is uncomfortable in these settings. They have usually good coaching that they bring in from outside, and there's no really oh, it's an easy out. Australia maybe is not.
And
if
you drop a game, there's no oh, I have a guaranteed blowout that I can kind of rest on to help me in point differential. Not so much, because all of these teams are minimum competent in this level of competition.
And you were saying you're right, it could be an upset because it's such a condensed, also every other day type of play, or every third day. You could slip up easily in the Olympics. That's why it's so fun. You have that week or so to get it going. There's no month drawn out tournament, so it's fun. I love it. This one's one of the should be one of the best ones. I don't think we might not have a boring game.
Yeah, there's so much talent in this tournament for sure.
Yeah.
Particularly when it comes to the group of death here in Group A. Why do you think the 2 teams that will come out of here are kind of clearly above the other 2? Where you just think maybe they have favorable matchups, or is it they have Giannis, or Canada has SGA? What is it about these teams that for you puts them clearly above the other 2?
I think for Greece is Giannis, and it's not only Giannis. They have a pretty deep, good coach, really good coach, ex-player legend. They're gonna be missing Slukas a lot. He would been if he plays, they're maybe first in this group. Honestly, he's one of the most clutch European players ever, and it would have been interesting to see him again with this lineup. Kalates is kind of iffy hurt, I think, so I don't know if he plays, but he can always go off like a lot. They do have like physical team as usual, so I'm like they're usually pretty good in these tournaments. So like especially when they
do play
got
pretty
here, and
physical, yeah.
and so I would have them like they could bully Canada pretty okay, and like they have some dogs they can hunt SGA like on kind of like Avramovich did with Serbia. It's not, again, this group, like everyone can be wrong whatever we say. We can say all 3 different things and 5 different things, like it might all be wrong because it's so unpredictable. Because I don't think I've ever seen these type of four teams in the same group on a tournament like this. This type of like pedigree of countries that with basketball, it's not, I don't think I've seen it in a lot. I mean, especially Australia, like again with the NBA players, and they're the odd man out for me there. But I think in Spain, again with coaching, and they have like the system, like you saw that in soccer too, like they won again with like young guys. So I can never discount them. So they're above Australia for me for that. And then obviously Canada for pure talent and some experience from last year too. And again, we go back to Greece. I think Canada's going to be first in group, but Greece second, and then Spain is right there. So.
Okay, then for Group B, my question is about France, actually. And actually, Will, you could definitely help answer this one because it's all about Wemby. France looks very different than it did last summer when it was unceremoniously eliminated from the FIBA World Cup, in large part because Wemby is playing for Team France this year. Do you think that's enough of an addition to make them one of the 2 clear favorites coming out of this group? Because without Wemby, I wouldn't pick France coming out of this group. I think that they would be they would kind of be on par with like a Brazil. I think if another country was going to come out of this group, maybe as a wild card or something, I'd pick Brazil. But obviously they have Wemby. So like what kind of difference does he make for Team France?
Wemby just gives them more options. Like if Rudy's it's with certain lineups or whatever,
his
or games, like
just
that versatility that he brings. And I mean, we're still in the early stages of his career where he still has so much room to take off. So I can't say that like
but
Wemby
if he gets taller.
Didn't they say that he did a little bit? That's just
he
scary.
did, apparently. But he's going to be like 8 feet tall by the end of his career.
Yeah, I mean, he's been focusing on, on the NBA and fitting in with the Spurs and Pop, and I don't know how much of that he's taking to the Olympics and all that. Like, this is kind of a whirlwind year for him, being the number 1, pick and rookie of the year. Now he's playing the Olympics in the off season. I don't know that he's like so talented at this point that it's like pushing them over the edge that they're like world beaters, but it's just that versatility he brings. I think that's the biggest thing because he can play different styles, and I think he intimidates players too. They're not sure how to attack him yet as well, like because he just like large. He'll just reach, and with the spacing spacing already be compressed, and he can just reach. Like he got Jokic on one too where he was just like and the rim, and
that's right, with no basket interference. Like as soon as that thing hits the rim, he can swat it away. Or so swat it like out of the basket. Even
there are unique aspects to his game that could be interesting in this type of setting. So
I would say like a couple of things that go against him. Coach has kind of been there for a while, but like he's not. I think they underachieved over the years, considering the amount of talent they have. I think Grace, like even without Wemby, I think you might be underestimating. Well, I don't trust them obviously same way, but as far as like talent, they do have a lot even without Wemby. The thing is, again,
they have FIBA Fournier first and foremost.
Well, Gobert too, honestly, like he's awesome.
Well, yeah. Of course they have. You have 4-time defensive player of the year Rudy Gobert as well.
Yeah, they have that thing with like Lithuania had with like they have Jonas and Sabonis, and you're like, how do we now play them together? Like they're really big names, and you can't bench one, but like you maybe should at some point. But like, how do you like at one point, like maybe because Wemby can shoot, how do you not have Rudy play at all, and then you go with Yabusele and when Wemby together and Fournier, it's kind of try to like shoot your way out of maybe a hole. Obviously, defensively, I think they're going to be. It should be like dominating. That's what's like.
They have
those are kind of things.
as well on the perimeter. So actually, like you look at that and you're like, this could be like a really annoying team to play defensively speaking.
Yeah, they will be
if they can figure out how to get it together and be like good enough on offense.
Yeah,
But
exactly. But from the good part, Wemby's young and he hasn't been in this stage, so I think he might get in some like freshness and some positive energy. And he's very competitive. He's like
he is very competitive.
like abnormally maybe for that age.
Yeah.
At least like yeah.
Well,
like,
how long has he been playing professionally, right? Before
a few
before he
years.
got to
Like
the
he
NBA.
was. I mean, he was still young, but yeah, it was like a couple of years probably. I mean, everyone's kind of professional back there, so you know where you cut off,
Right.
kind of like the first league, second league
Right.
kind of thing. You know, but either way, like he might bring in some like new energy. Again, it's a little tricky because of that's why I was like kind of rooting for Embiid to play for them because that would have been a chaos. Who plays there? Who's from the bench? Like that would have been so funny.
Right. Actually.
That would have been just like the side eye, like
well, yeah. Or you would have had to have like Rudy and Embiid playing together. Embiid would have been very annoyed with that space.
Oh
right?
yeah.
You know, as much as he's struggling right now with Team USA. Yeah, it's an interesting question, right? And like Will and I had this whole discussion going into the playoffs about like how young players fare. And you know, Wemby has been playing professionally for, you know, some amount of time before he even came to the NBA, but now he's the guy on his team in San Antonio, and now he's like the guy on this for Team France right now for their senior men's international team. And I don't think he's been in this role before, and certainly not in the Olympics, right? This is his first Olympics. It seems like a whirlwind of a situation to be in. It must be so exciting, like all this adrenaline pumping, and the actual tournament takes place over a really short time span. Like I don't know how any of them like settle themselves down to like get into their routines and you know,
you
just
almost
kind of
want to be like either too young or like very like experienced.
Yeah,
like you don't know any better when you're
too young to not know any better.
Somewhere in the middle when it's like everyone's expecting you to blow up and you're like 25 and you're like maybe you feel too much pressure. With 19's like, you know, it's like, oh, he's a kid, but then like you see Jokic last year, like he kind of got on the stage with that tournament, so like you almost don't want to think about we want to let the folly of youth like just roll on. So yeah.
Okay, so the last set of questions we have are related to Group C, mostly about Team USA and Team Serbia. So Cat Like Sports on Twitter asks, she wanted to hear our predictions for which country wins. And I would love for you guys to pick who you would want to see as USA's starting five, since there's been some controversy about the starters. So I'll just answer this one quickly. Because for the most part, I wouldn't change the starters, except that I would have AD starting in place of Joel Embiid. That's kind of where the controversy's been in this center position. But, you know, I was contemplating this question before it was known that Kevin Durant was going to be coming back from his calf strain for sure. He'd missed most of the exhibition games with that, and Drew Holiday was starting in place of that small forward spot. I would actually keep Drew there and bring KD in off the bench and, you know, mix up the rotation based on that and how that plays out. But I like what Drew brings defensively, and he's a good connective piece and all of that. I don't think the starters are lacking for shooting necessarily. Also would put less pressure on him, you know, coming back from the calf strain. He really needs to, you know, catch his rhythm and all of that. So if I was managing the team, that's what I would want to see. But if I want Serbia to win the tournament, I want Embiid starting. I want Kevin Durant starting. Maybe this is the hubris. I would want LeBron coming off the bench. I would want LeBron like not playing. Like he's Udonis Haslam on this
so
team.
Annoying.
I'd
like why is he so good?
Like, I'd want
40.
Ant to not play. So I would have like Booker. Who are the other guards on that team?
Halliburton.
Yeah, I'd have Booker, Halliburton.
Bring Jaylen Brown.
Kevin Durant. Bring Jaylen Brown.
Replace Jaylen Brown.
And then Embiid. And then that's who I would start if I was trying to sabotage Team USA. But yeah, Will, do you have any thoughts on who the USA's starting five should be?
I don't really have a strong opinion. I mean, it seems like there's some politics going on with like egos and stardom and stuff like that with like having to start Embiid. It's interesting.
Like they went through all of this trouble to get him to join Team USA, right? It's not just that he's there and he's like the MVP and all of that, right? You have so many names on this list. I think it's because they went through all the trouble of like courting him and like trying to win him versus Team France.
So now it was a full court press with with him, and it's hard not to get him. And it's what they talk about with managing egos, managing players. Like if you bench him, you might risk getting like the Brandon Ingram situation, just so he just checks out.
Right.
I don't know. That's like a character comment.
Oh,
like I don't know.
We play our better center. In 80 and Bam.
Yeah.
And Embiid is sulking at the end of the bench. What is this going to do
Tragedy,
to the team?
But it's kind of been working well for them having like this amazing bench unit, because it's like a lot of teams can't compete with that. So just start Embiid and just close with whoever's like playing the best in that game, and like the players won't really care at that point.
And especially if it's a short, you're talking about it's a shorter game, like in a lot of teams, you can break them with that second unit. Like, I mean, because they're good, obviously, like they're too good anyway. Like that starting lineup, like it's not. We're talking about like, oh, like they're so much worse with like, oh, they're worse with Embiid on. It's like,
yeah, it's
like I wish a lot of countries had that problem of like starting Joel Embiid. Like
I know, right? It's like they go from plus plus 12 net ratings, like a +4. That's they're just still winning.
And then you run into like that second unit with like other countries. Like second unit is like a much different story.
Yep.
I would still keep it the way it is. Like it doesn't matter. And it's also like a little overblown of like he's so bad. It's relative. Like it's just again different type of style of basketball.
It's more about fit than anything, right? Like he's just
it's the fit.
I thought he was actually quite good defensively in the Germany exhibition game, in large part because I think that the way that Germany plays doesn't really take advantage of some of his like limitations, especially like conditioning wise, because they play so kind of slow and methodical compared to the other teams that was giving those USA's starters issues. So I think it might just be a matchup thing. And then when you see them in the Olympics, there are going to be games where they're just dominating in those minutes anyway.
Yeah. Which that is Mile High Aki's question, our good friend.
Yes, that's right. Love Mile High Aki.
He said, "Why is Embiid shit at international basketball?" We kind of just touched on that. Yeah, I think I would just say he's used to being the #1 option on the Sixers, and like everything's running through him. On the USA, it's like even for his players this good, some of them are ball dominant, some of them are good off the ball. There's just different styles. It's hard to like mesh that. It's just like a little awkward, but.
And also, I mean, it's just the elephant in the room has got to be said. Like, it's not the same amount of free throws you're going to get. And so there's less freedom in that way. Like, if you don't get calls the same way, like, it's just you have less space to do what he does. And it's just different. Less, no 3 second, again, a lot easier to double from there. Like, you can focus. And yes, like, the logical way, like people are like, oh, everyone says Embiid's bad, but he's the only one getting doubled. It's like, because you go into post, that's like what you would do. Like, why would you let him just turn around? He's a giant 7-footer, and you make him like try to pass it out, which is not his strongest suit. Like he can do it, but it's not his strongest way. So like, why would you? If there was no double teams, it'd be the greatest ever. It's like,
So it's funny you mentioned that, because when we saw Team USA play Germany in that very last exhibition game, and LeBron had to have that fourth quarter takeover basically for the USA to take it home, I thought Germany was quite impressive, particularly defensively in that game. I was like, you know what? Actually, if Team USA didn't have LeBron, I would think they were a lot more beatable than they are with him.
Probably,
right? Which is kind of crazy in year 20 of his professional career that this guy is clearly in like all of these exhibition games too. He is the best player on Team USA, and it's ridiculous.
And that's what we talked about. Like that's like he has athleticism, but then he also has that knows how like to manipulate geometries, knows to use up space. And then when you forget about the like there's no ref play, it's just okay. Let me just bully ball. Like he can do that. Like he can. That's why I'm like sometimes frustrated. I'm like, do that in the NBA too. Like, don't turn around and like look at the refs. So like try to get the calls. Like it's just, which I mean he doesn't do as much. Like obviously it's not egregious.
Right. I think
this was so awesome. Like what he did
complains a lot, but he doesn't actually like foul a lot.
Yeah, not as much. Yeah, he does complain. But it again, like I'm gonna go back.
He complains a lot though.
He does. But again, for that Germany, like he was so good. Like I was like watching. I'm like, I can't believe like this is happening. Like it's one of those like, oh my god, like again, But yeah, without him, like we'll see. I want him to leave us alone. Like move away from the Olympics already.
I know. I joked at the time because he was clearly exerting so much energy. Like the sequences were defensive rebound, first one down the floor, gets the transition layup, next position down, they get a stop. He gets the defensive rebound again, makes the pass for the assist. Next position down, they miss the shot. Germany's like trying to outlet pass, get the ball up as quickly as possible, and he was the one that he I think missed a layup. And then he was somehow the first one back to intercept the last pass that would have resulted in layup for Germany at the other basket. Ridiculous human being. I don't believe he's real. But that's LeBron James for you. Okay, so I am really curious about some of the conversations I've heard about what Serbia's strategy should be in this tournament, right? There's a little bit less room to game things because of what we talked about with these smaller groups in the format that they're going with this year. So my question is whether Serbia's goal should be to win this group, which entails obviously winning their games against Puerto Rico and South Sudan, but also against Team USA in group play, or not.
Yeah, regardless, like it's gonna be luck eventually with where they land on the bracket. They might end up still, even if they're first and second or second or first, they might still end up in the semifinal against USA, so it doesn't matter. So I think this is one of those, like, you remove that part of like gameplay outside of the court. You just go for wins now. Like it's a short tournament. There's not really any, again, with the draws, like you can't really game it again. Like you're just going to be whatever the draw gets you, and you go for the wins at all times. Like obviously, like if it's a first game, so like if it's getting out of hand, maybe like they'll like call it early and not exert so much energy to like.
But then point differential
Right,
also matters,
exactly.
right? So there's
honestly,
no real option to kind of punt on any game because there are so few.
I know. If they lose to like Puerto Rico and South Sudan, they shouldn't even be going through. Like that's my opinion. So like it doesn't matter for the point differential. But I understand what you're saying. Like you want to not go lose by 40, like 50 over there, and just lose the ability to be the wild card at all. So I think the strategy is just to win, and I think they're good enough to do it. They have like a really good starting lineup for people that are like not as familiar with Serbia's players. If you like gritty defense and like really sound fundamental basketball, like you have guys that really know what they're doing. Like Avramovic and Dobric are like the poster kids for that. They're not the most talented. They're not like possibly the best guys. Like you have Guduric that's like in his club years. He for sure he has had better careers than Dobric and Avramovic, possibly a better player there, but as just part of Serbia in this fit, those two guards are unbelievable. And they're not like pure point guards either, which is like one of the rare moments in Serbian basketball where we don't have like a floor general on the ball. It's Bogdanovic. It's going to be sharing the ball, which is going to be interesting if it gets tight at some point. Like Voja is not my favorite point guard in the world. He's the most talented of our guards, but and he's like a Jamal clutch guy, but
he has some serious like adrenaline junkie energy in some of these exhibition games where I'm just like, what are you doing this entire game? And then he makes a few spectacular plays at the end that just bring it home. So for the audience, who is mostly an NBA watching audience, you were talking about Avramovic as one of these great defensive guards. My favorite comp for him in the NBA is Jalen Suggs. He's incredibly pesky on the ball, and his motor he just never stops going. I do think that he may be similar to Jalen Suggs, actually, when he plays like a Steph Curry type, that he doesn't really have a lot of experience guarding. It's a little different chasing that guy off ball than most of the other players that he's going to be dealing with. But I definitely want the audience to be on the lookout for Alexa Avramovic as that kind of defensive presence. And you're talking about some of these guys, like who are the biggest X factors for Team Serbia? Like who are the guys who you could see helping to propel them to a win in the group stage over Team USA?
So it would have to be so we are really thin on the four, like on the wings this year. That's why we brought like basically 4 centers, and Petrushev's kind of a power forward like by necessity, but then he's really fitting well with Jokic, so it's kind of going to be there, and he stretches out okay. But Nikola Jovic, if he's healthy, that can be a really big game changer. He had a good FIBA last year, another NBA season under his belt, and then again had a little injury. So like he was back. I was surprised. I thought he wasn't going to be back. So him and Davidovich are in that. They're basically coming in not really super healthy, but they had to go because Lucic wasn't playing. Kalinic was retired, and those were all like Swiss Army knives. You can put them at the 4, and it's not going to be an issue, but they could stretch it and play really good defense. So Davidovich is your, who would be the guy, the Joe Ingles type, like, you know, it's kind of like a mellow, but he like fundamentally is very sound. He can shoot, and then you have Jovic that's like an energy young kid, like very talented, obviously. So like those guys have to, like, those positions have to be shored up, and not obviously like. They have to make shots. They have to make open shots because they're going to have a lot. And they usually do have a lot. And that was the bad thing about Germany last year when it got tougher. Like Guduric was missing some open threes. Like that's why Bogdan, obviously, his health is like the most important.
Yeah.
Because FIBA, as much as like they're great big guys and everything in the world, FIBA is all about the guards. In most cases, in most years, usually it's, you know, it's like the March Madness. You have a good guard, single elimination. If you can control the game and not let it get out of hand with the really good like floor general, you'll be good. That's why I'm like Stefan Jovic retired, and it pains me because he was. It's unfortunate they would have to still depend on a guy like that, and then Topic is still young, so he might be like next in line. So he'll be depending on like Vasa being very sound and not making turnovers that lead to fast breaks, because we have a good defense that can, you know, play from the set. So which hurts me. But again, from Euros, the difference is Bogdanovic is playing, and then Avramovic and Dobric are playing as well. So that year Dobric wasn't going, and that was like a big mistake that they made for the Euros. And now they're starting, which is like for me like a really big headway for Pesic as a coach to be like, screw the traditional kind of situation. Like these guys are not your main ball handlers, they're your executors, they're good defenders. And for Serbia to always succeed, the point of attack defense was like the main part every year that I watched. I remember winning any medals was, including last year, Avramovic would go crazy and watch like 3 days nonstop of SGA highlights, and he figured him out like where he likes to, how he and what timing likes to attack. He stole like 3 or 4 direct like dribble balls from him.
Wow.
And like, just, it was unbelievable. Like SGA was really bad in that game, like because of this guy. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that. That would be really interesting. And again, with the USA, it's hard. It has a lot of things have to break
Steph
their way.
is a different beast, I will say.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not even like I'm talking
It's
about
not
just
just
even
him.
the tournament,
Yeah.
like getting a medal in the tournament at all. Like this, as good as I said, this is one of the best tournaments like ever I've seen for basketball international. They have to really be on point in every game. There's no like setbacks, and there's no like 29 minutes for Jokic kind of games that he has to play.
You're making it sound so exciting.
Are there any like differences that you would want to tell the audience or like Nuggets fans about Jokic and his game, like how he plays with the Nuggets versus how he plays with Serbia?
It's mostly, I mean, it is similar. It might have less, which I think they adopted a lot of those like dribble handoffs again now, especially
a lot of handoffs I've seen in the
and that's usually with him. Generally, it's just now I think without the tradition, there's no Teodosic, there's no Jovic. Like they're doing a lot more like spread around and attack like open spots. I don't like you can see a game, like don't be surprised if you see a game from him that's like 10-8-7, and they still like a close game, but he still has those numbers. It's just the FIBA games like that, like the numbers aren't gonna be eye popping sometimes. It really is surprising when a guy gets like 40 points, and it's usually a team that like has no one that score, and so it's like a lot of feeding the one guy. Like, so I wouldn't be like, don't be shocked if there's a game from Jokic like that and you're like, why is he not attacking? Like sometimes, like again, because of these geometries and narrower spacing, like he might not be able to do the same thing as he does in the NBA. But like he might still be effective in getting an open shot. So maybe prepared to be more frustrated. The guys might not hit open shots sometimes. Like I could see it against Puerto Rico. Like
we're more excited because there are going to be so many open shots available to everyone. So if they hit like half of them, that's like Woo, let's
Oh
go.
yeah.
All right. Oh, I'm really excited about this tournament. I
Starts
hope the rest
tomorrow
of the
too. Like
audience
first
is.
Saturday
I
is the first
know.
game. Yeah.
We're going to try to get this episode out. Definitely, I think before USA Serbia game. But this will definitely be a good primer, really, at any point during group play, because we talked about the elimination rounds as well. Okay, our next question related to all of this very random, very scary, treacherous tournament in the Olympics comes from Mile High Pete, who asks, assuming the US gets at least one medal, who are your favorites to get the other two? Serbia, Germany, Canada, France, and Australia all have teams good enough to finish in the top three. So I think Pete has, good instincts as to the top teams here. Kind of feel like those are the favorites. Like if those teams got eliminated in group play, it would be a big disappointment kind of teams.
Oh yeah.
So
I have these brackets.
you had the flags just ready to go.
I have these brackets ready to make predictions. It is random draw, like once it gets to the stage, so we won't necessarily know. Other than like you can't play teams within your group, things of that nature, until at least the semis, like we were just saying. So
well, that's why it's tricky with the random drawing.
Yeah,
so you don't know who's going to be on which side.
Yeah,
so you could
hard.
pick like a final that's going to be a semifinal. But yeah, I mean,
so we're gonna have a lot of fun with this.
Yeah, well, I'm picking us for the gold, so like that's just like right away. I can't. There's no way I'm not being a homer.
Serbia. So you're just put Serbia going all the way.
Yeah,
copy paste all the way through to the gold medal round.
I don't know who they're playing there, but it doesn't matter.
We're doing it. All right, awesome. All right, so Germany versus Spain. This is interesting to me because last summer I thought that Spain, they definitely got upset. They were eliminated in group play. They were eliminated by I forget if they lost to Canada, and I think Latvia was the one that eliminated them, or was it the other way around?
There was like a combo there. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
something interesting happened.
But they were kind of the favorites for the tournament.
Well, because they won the Euros unexpectedly too the year before. And I don't remember if Lorenzo Brown played in the World Cup because he was like basically the MVP. They just didn't have the guts to give it to him because he wasn't really Spanish. And he didn't have really ties to Spain. They just kind of bought him. In Euros, yeah. And so like they didn't really give him the MVP. Juancho got it, I think. Or no, actually Billy. And so I don't know. I mean, I never like can go against Spain, honestly. I think it's Germany's kind of time.
But then you got Germany, and they're the they're the reigning world champions, right?
Yeah, I'll put him over, and I think we owe Germany one, so that's why I would have that. And
that's right. This was the finals.
They barely beat us, and there's Jokic in play. So
it was such a competitive game. It was really tense.
Yeah.
Bogey was giving it his all last summer. All right, so we have France and Canada. We have Rudy and Wemby and Nicolas Batum and Evan Fournier playing for France, along with Bilal Koulibaly. Actually, flashed a lot more than I expected to see from him in some of the exhibition games that we saw leading up to the Olympics. Versus, obviously, Team Canada has a pretty NBA heavy roster relative to most other teams that aren't Team USA in this competition. What do you think of this kind of matchup?
I'm gonna flip it because you really let's go by the rules. So you can't have 4 teams from one group,
right?
Kick out Australia. They're not going past the group. France plays US in the quarterfinals. That's like an upset matchup. The Germany is gonna go over, and it's gonna be they're gonna be second in the group. And who are on the other sides?
Oh, this is fun. This feels like playing Catan or something. Just moving the little.
Okay, so from there you go 3-3. Go with let's go with South Sudan actually playing Canada. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll have Canada and US in the other semifinal.
Okay.
All right.
Oh man, that was the bronze medal game in the World Championships, and that game was crazy. That went to OT.
Oh, that's right. It was.
And really, the US should have lost it. I don't know what Canada was doing at the end of that game to let it go to OT.
Was it Tatum?
But yeah, Dylan Brooks was playing out of his mind last summer.
Oh yeah, FIBA Brooks, man, that's FIBA Brooks.
So right now, as we are making predictions for listeners without this graphic, we have the United States versus Canada in the semis, and then on the other side, Germany versus Serbia in the semis. And obviously, Voja has Serbia going past Germany, How you feel about this USA Canada? We saw them play
I
a
almost
game.
want to just pick France instead of USA there.
Oh.
Just like a full upset.
Going back.
If someone's gonna take out US, it might be France, and at home, just like home cooking ref. Just bring like a French ref, just
the French
smoke cigarettes in
Revolution.
the break and just doesn't call any fouls. No, but it's
oh my god, that'd be amazing.
Let's go US Serbia. Like, let's go that final. Which
Oh my God.
I don't know if Serbia wins if they go. If someone has to like take out US before they play us. It's not that I don't think we can beat them. It's just
so much easier if someone else takes them out.
Yeah,
right?
that too. But it's just I don't like we play good against them, and then at some point like someone takes a timeout, and then you see Kerr go into the refs, and like Krzyzewski did that a few times, and just like they just stop calling stuff. So I'll go with the refs like screwed us.
Yeah.
But it's our time. Let's go. Like it's this year.
So if you had for this gold medal or for the bronze medal game, then for Canada and Germany.
It's Germany.
Okay, Germany. So for Pete's answer, Voya saying Germany has a good chance to get a medal.
Can I say a reason that? Yeah, I'll. You know what? I think my bracket's going to look very different than Voya's, but I just wanted to push back against the Canada-Germany one for a bit because I really respect Team Germany a lot. But one of the things that I noticed in their exhibition game versus Team USA is that they had a really tough time dealing with switching. And I actually think that Team Canada, if they're going to be good at anything in this tournament, like at a high level, defensively, they are pretty versatile. And I think they can do a lot of switching and maybe cause some issues for a team like Germany. And if I recall, they did not play Germany in the World Cup last year. And the reason I would even compare the two is that both teams are pretty similar, actually, returning from last summer to this one, unlike a lot of the other international teams. But Canada and Germany have a lot of the same players returning and playing, similar level roles as last year. So that's actually a matchup I would be interested to see. But I think I would favor Canada in that just because I think Germany has some offensive limitations that Canada could capitalize on.
So I would counter Dwight Powell switching on Schroeder is not ideal.
No,
or Kelly Olynyk.
That's true. Yeah, but Schroeder needs to finish at the rim. He might be able to blow by people, but he's got to get the ball in the basket.
It's full of holes.
Grace, you would have then.
I actually would have. I would have Australia coming out instead of Greece. Playing Serbia, so you could just put Australia there, and then
I'll book that for Serbia. Yeah.
Spain. Who else could be a wild card? I think I want a different wild card.
Well, it's Japan, Brazil, Sudan, and Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Brazil could be.
Oh well, we have South Sudan actually.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's have some fun with this bracket. This is more like a wish casting bracket, so nobody hold me to this. Okay, I'm picking Germany over Spain, and I'm gonna pick France over the US.
Yes,
I can totally see. I can see Wemby just like having his way with that team. I will to be fair though, the one weakness of Team USA, as I see it, well, not one, but like the major one in the starting lineup is Embiid. But Embiid will absolutely destroy Wemby should he get the opportunity. And I think they would set him up often. Still, I mean, I don't think. I think the way that Joel attacks is not really.
It would be fun to see Joel pass out of a double of Wemby and Gobert.
True, that's right. Because like Joel said, if there were no double teams in the NBA, he would average 50 points a game. But that's not how it is in the NBA, and it's definitely not going to be that way in FIBA.
People on him.
So I'm going to go with France. I think they're going to be upset here. France definitely struggles with their guard play. They've got these big wings, but. Yeah, with their offense just looks like a hot mess like the entire time that I've watched them. I think they went 0-5 in their exhibition games. But that's just the kind of thing that you could see, like no one really saw it coming, and then they just figured out how to have everybody play with Wemby like efficiently. And then, one game setting, I could see a March Madness style upset. From there, I'm going to pick France over Canada. Because I think Canada's offense is pretty icky right now. It wasn't great last summer either, but I think versus Rudy Wemby in the paint, They can't quite like catch their rhythm. Everyone's zoning up all the time. It could just get really nasty. Bilal Koulibaly, just like deflections and turnovers everywhere. I can see that game going there. And then, yeah, obviously, I'm going to pick Serbia over Germany. It's going to be a rock fight, though. It's going to be an ugly game, and it's going to be close. And then, obviously, Serbia is going to win the gold medal and add to my Jokic agenda.
So actually, if this bracket shakes out, I have this more confidence in this for us winning a gold than what I did. As I said, I don't know if America getting to the finals, like I don't know if they're allowed to lose when they get to the finals, but like I would, it would be interesting if France beats them, honestly.
Wow, I can't believe you both picked Serbia. I thought I knew Voja you would pick them.
I'm surprised too. I thought Grace was gonna have us lose to like Australia.
Oh my gosh.
Well, not that bad.
Australia's tough. That's why I think they're gonna come out of that group. I don't think there's any reason to favor Greece over any other country in that group. And I think Australia is one of the top two, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think they're pretty close together in quality in Group A, but I don't think I would put Greece over any of them, even slightly.
I don't trust Australia in big tournaments to like do super well. Like they kind
were.
Of always there,
oh my gosh, it was really bad last summer because Josh Giddey and Patty Mills looked like the only guys on the floor that knew how to play basketball. It was bad.
They have like a okay team like usual, like some of the guys.
I'm gonna go with actually Canada, Greece, and Australia coming out of this.
Okay.
Should I get wild
so no
and say
Spain? Okay,
and say no Spain?
So no Spain.
Okay,
so you have
Canada,
Greece, Australia. So no Greece.
Well, I'll have Greece in Canada and Australia, and then I'll have France, Germany, and then I'll have Serbia, South Sudan, and the U.S. So
okay, no Puerto Rico.
I guess I'll go Greece versus Serbia again.
Okay.
And then I'll go France, USA again. Or maybe I should do Australia.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. And then
France and Germany, they're in the same group, right?
Yeah, they're in the same group.
So France and South Sudan probably. And
France
then you have
South
Canada
Sudan and Germany.
Yeah, that might actually shake out too, like rule-wise, and who's first, who's second, yeah.
So this will be my initial group. I mean, Spain not being out of it, that'll please Miroslav.
Yeah, me too, honestly. Like,
yeah.
I'm fine with them not going.
Yeah. So like, of course, I'll just pick Serbia to go to the final right now.
God, I'm afraid of this. Everyone's kind of having us in the final. Even
I don't
outside of the group.
I don't have anyone besides the U.S. like solidly getting a medal, honestly.
Well, there's no Italy, so that's my like first really good vibe here. There's no Italy, but I don't know who. Like I guess some of the teams like Canada can light it up, like just spread out and just start shooting. Because we saw like
Germany's just really good.
Man, it's a one-game elimination.
I don't think Canada actually plays like that though. Like they could in theory, but they don't. They didn't play like that last summer either. That's not what made them good.
Like Japan was like lit us up because we're not really they weren't really trying as hard on defense. But one of the moments was like they're just hitting back-to-back threes and we're like passing the ball beautifully, like it's a layup, open layup, and then just go the other direction and just shoot a three. You know, like, oh man. So that's what kills us against Italy. Yeah.
So this will set me up to then have a France-United States semi,
not bad.
Which could be cool. But I will go with no French Revolution in this scenario, and I'll say U.S. winning that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, this is a likely one too. Also, it would be likely also we lose to Germany here and then be fourth, and France is the bronze. We don't really do well in bronze games.
Oh, yeah, they're like, whatever.
France.
We don't play for bronze.
Oh, but France is at home.
They beat us already once.
They got the smoking refs.
Yeah.
I guess I'll just pick the U.S. since
they're
so strong and they have all these players. I want Serbia to win, though. Just for everyone. I'm rooting
I don't get
for
that.
Serbia.
I don't
so
mind
unpatriotic, Will.
Yeah.
I really am not. I'm fully on board Team Serbia. For this
My
Olympics.
thing is the Jokic agenda. I have tweets to compose. I have people to brag to. I'm not going to be able to brag about Team USA being awesome at everything. And I can do that in my other sports. I can do that in ice dance. I can do that in gymnastics.
That's more fulfilling, I guess.
Yeah, it's a little more fulfilling in the sports where there's like a little bit more competition. No offense.
But yeah, we'll go. Let's go through our picks just to answer Pete's question. Also, Kat like sports sent in a question asking us to
Yeah,
give
we're gonna.
our predictions for which country wins. So
right.
that wraps into this. So I obviously have USA getting the gold, Serbia silver, and I guess I'll pick France for the bronze, just so that way I have someone different. And Grace, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I have Serbia winning the gold and France getting silver, and I'm gonna give the bronze medal game to Germany. I think they're better as like a total team than Canada, even though I think Canada could give them some problems. It's just Canada's actually a pretty young team compared to most of the other teams here, and that wasn't a factor I considered until watching them in exhibition play pre-Olympics. So some of it is prediction, some of it's wish casting. I hope you enjoyed that, Kat.
And inexperience in this type of tournament. That's why it was not as shocking that we whooped them last World Cup, because all these our guys like were really experienced and about just everything in those semifinal games. I have Serbia obviously against USA. That would be like the monumental upset of the century, maybe with basketball considered. And then I have Germany as well doing the bronze. Yeah, I mean, if Serbia wins, if this is the final and they win, like we're gonna be insufferable. People just start deleting Twitter. Like,
oh my gosh,
it's gonna be over. Like Jokic agenda, just like true basketball, like all that. Yeah,
he's the first player in NBA history.
Yeah. It's gonna be good for this like Serbia US maybe thing that happens is a 3-on-3. 3-on-3 men's might be like a bloodbath, and
that's gonna
that was a World Cup. I want to say, I think it's last year. World Cup was they do it every year. I didn't follow again. This year's been wild for me for like following some of these side quests, but last year was Jimmer Fredette had a game winner just like rim out of the rim out, and then we scored like a game winner right after that, and so that was like.
Gosh.
We're like crazy. That guy, those guys that would play for us 3-on-3 like are most decorated in the sport. Like we basically like not invented it, but it was basically kind of like that. And the only things we're missing, I think, is the Olympic gold. And so last time they played the bronze, they lost only one game. And it was a semifinal game to like Russia, I think. So very randomly. So but this is the year for them.
I think I recalled you talking about like. Which 3 Nuggets would be the best like 3-on-3 like lineup, right? And it was like AG and like Jamal and KCP. I think
so. I think I literally when you said it, I don't remember that as much, but I had KCP right in my head for that. Because that I was just wondering like
what makes a good 3-by-3 basketball like lineup or team or whatever. Like what are the differences?
Versatile because there's no it's live ball after make, so there's no check ball, so you just go. So whenever
there's score, no like
it's checking after out of bounds or fouls, but if you score the other team you have to let them take the ball off the hoop and get like some space to pass it out. So but there's like you grab it and it's right away, and it's 12-second shot clock. So when you score, if you had a mismatch, you have to have versatile players to cover who's next to you. There's no like I'm covering this guy, so you have to like run across the court. It's like, okay, I stayed next to this dude. I'm gonna have to cover him, and that's what you want, like tall, Swiss Army knives, and then maybe one like center-ish guy. And it's a lot of fight. It's very physical. I joke like it's just grabbing, and it's a smaller basketball. It's a women's size.
I was wondering because like you only have 3 guys, so there's so much space. So I guess like to play defense, you'd have to allow a little bit more physicality. Is that kind of the logic?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I think so. And that's how it is. I mean, the sports star, like I don't know actually where 3-on-3 was like especially invented, but like Serbia actually that's our most played sport. Like not 5, like we don't do pickup hoops 5-on-5. It's 3-on-3 mostly, like in the neighborhood. So there's rarely I don't remember like 5 times in my life that I play 5-on-5 outside. So it's 3-on-3 mostly. So that we know, and so that's the style of play you play. Like there's live ball with. It's really fun. I mean, it's obviously it's a favorite thing to play in the summer, but you need shooters. So be obviously Jamal because he's also tall. He can guard a center, like in case he gets a mismatch. Or obviously shooters. Jokic would be good for like the slow type checkouts, but like for that one, I'm not. I mean, he'd be good, but like I don't know if he'll be. okay, I gotta go back.
Ideal.
Obviously, every NBA player would be great in 3-on-3. Like it's
They're
not
very
like
good
they would
players.
come out and just get blown out. It's just the style of it wouldn't maybe be conducive. They would need some time to get used to it. So obviously, Steph and all these guys, like it's ridiculous to talk about it because these 3-on-3 guys go to 5-on-5 and they're not good. Like they're not as good. That's why
Yeah.
they play 3-on-3. But
I heard-
it's really fun.
I heard, about even with youth sports, in any sport, like kind of limiting the number of players, like a 3v3 or something like that in any sport, just to get kids more reps on ball and just developing the skills is so much better for them rather than like these full 5-on-5 type things.
That's how we would warm up before practices. Like we
Yeah.
would play 3-on-3. Some days we would play like 2-on-2, 3-on-3 as like, that's your practice that day. Like really fun. And obviously there's a lot of tactics, but if I don't know who from the US side, I think was it Jimmer talked to Russell about it? He might be the only one that I know recently that discussed it because Robbie Hummel was also on one of the teams for USA. So I don't know if he had any podcasts where he talked about it. Obviously, like we listen to our guys in Serbian, but if anyone wants to know, I think recently was on Russillo's podcast. Someone talked about 3-on-3 as like a thing. So they discussed it would be good from the NBA and all that.
Right. So yeah. So
Yes.
with that, we decided to do a snake draft where we will all draft players to try to defeat Team USA because it's kind of like inspired by the WNBA All-Stars versus Team USA that just happened where the All-Stars beat the Team USA in that little match. We're picking players who aren't playing in the Olympics.
That's correct. So
Yes.
So it's going to be tough to like get a team to beat them, but it might be interesting.
Yeah.
It might be interesting, right? So the actual constraints here. So Matej had asked, is Mario Hezonja the best player not playing in the Olympics, joking about this Croatian basketball player who's really good. So then I got to thinking, like, who are the best active players who aren't playing in the Olympics? We had all of this controversy about Jaylen Brown being upset that he was not the one to replace Kawhi when he was not able to play. So Derek White took his spot instead. So I thought, okay, let's try to cobble together a team that could defeat Team USA. Now, here are the constraints. We want a starting lineup and a sixth man. The players can't be on Team USA right now or any other team that qualified for the Olympics. So, for example, Team Croatia did not qualify for the Olympics, so you could choose Mario Hezonja if you wanted to. You could also choose Kawhi Leonard if you wanted to. Gotcha. And Voja, I'm going to let you decide since we're doing a snake draft. Do you want to go first, or do you can actually choose if you want to go first, second, or third?
I'll go third. I'll be on the turn. It's not as fun doing first.
You want to be on the turn. All
clear
right.
First pick. Like there's a clear first pick. That's not really fun.
I'll go second again.
Okay.
I feel like you have an idea of who your first pick is, and I just want you to be able to fulfill that dream.
I have a few ideas. I hadn't thought about it, so I didn't want to go first, but I have some ideas.
Oh, come on, it's a clear first, I think.
Is there a clear first? Okay, we're assuming everyboing healthy. Now I feel like I'm gonna mess up if I don't. No, finals MVP Jaylen Brown is the. I'm gonna go with Kawhi Leonard.
Okay.
Kawhi. All right. I wonder if that's the clear first.
I wonder too.
But I don't think it is because I think
what was I thinking?
Voja's I might get him.
I mean, if I do, that's over.
Oh God.
I feel like I succumb to
Luka.
Psychological mind.
There it is.
Luka.
Oh, I mean that's fine. I thought about him.
I mean, for FIBA,
FIBA.
That's the best player in the world.
I don't know. Maybe it's because I've seen him play with Team Slovenia, and that's the problem. It's just I haven't seen him look impressive. I've only been watching FIBA games for the last 2 summers, so
that's fair. He's the record holder for the Olympics points in a game.
I mean, yeah, Luka can score points.
Just control that game, Luka.
I mean,
I'm just gonna select the Dallas Mavericks.
Just go with Dallas. Let's see if I'm gonna stick with my thing, that not picking USA players at all. I just go with my strategy. I'm not gonna pick USA players. I'll go with Lauri Markkanen.
Okay, that's a good one.
That's my fin. He's he's really great in these type of games.
It's 2 Ks, right?
Yeah, I think so. If I'm going with my general thing. I will do Porzingis, like double big for this.
Okay. Thank goodness. All right, that's a good choice, though. That's a good choice. I just don't mind to be taken.
Because I know there was one probably I might have had that one like on my tip of my tongue. If you pick him, I'll tell you.
If you don't pick USA players, they'll have the extra motivation.
Yeah.
To beat them.
Exactly. Wait, no.
Yeah,
I want the USA players to also have motivation because I want them to they want to show that they should have been on Team USA.
So what happened to Kawhi?
The reports said that the ones I read were that the Clippers made the decision.
Didn't they have a statement? They were disappointed that Kawhi was pulled.
Yes.
So I thought it was just, but it was health wise. I thought it wasn't like, oh, you're bad.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that. It was something health related for sure.
The old school.
I mean, Embiid's playing. Like, what are we talking about?
There's the pick too. I was thinking Brunson when you guys said America, but he wasn't really great last year with this.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like the pace gets, and he relies so much on isolation, right? And we talked about how much more difficult, relying on that to create for yourself and everyone is with the FIBA spacing. Plus, he doesn't push pace really.
Yeah.
Yes, for the listeners, I just picked Brunson for my team, so I got the old Lookin Brunson combo.
All right, I gotta create my dream team here, and it's gotta include Isaiah Hartenstein, who I think was thinking about playing this summer, but he was in free agency and was just like, I can't do it.
Would he play for Germany?
Yeah.
Nice.
I have my LeBron stopper-ish with Kawhi. It's so hard to deal with Steph Curry. Man, he just runs around. I'm going to go with KCP here, honestly.
Nice.
I think he's just a good defensive guard and can play off the ball. Like, you can use him lots of different lineups because he can just space if that's what you need him to do.
He's familiar with these guys.
I'll have other creation on the floor. Yeah.
All right, now I'm going with Jalen.
Yeah, he's going to be like, I should have been on Team USA. Yeah.
He's bad in these. Siakam.
I would imagine. So many turnovers. Ooh, interesting.
Cameroon. And then I will get I need my guards, I guess, and defensive guards. Danny Avdia for the shooting guard.
You can do that because you have Lowry and KP in your front court. That's good thinking.
Got the shooters to stretch Embiid and Davis and all these guys. And they're those two. Two of my favorite FIBA players are Markkanen and Kristaps. That's why I never quit on Markkanen as an NBA player because I just I can't. He's so good in FIBA.
Man, you might beat us just with the original strategy because we're cannibalizing these NBA rejects.
Yeah, good point. Well, the people you picked were on my original list.
Okay, I'm gonna go with a weird one and go with Cat.
That's good.
Explain.
And just hope that on my list. Just hope that he can be a big body to try to just hold up, kind of like what he was trying to do against the Nuggets, and space shoot some threes and just try and hold up and be down there and not foul. You have only 5 fouls in this tournament, so
yeah, only 5 fouls available.
I thought it was good last year, or when they played for Dominican. I had him on my list too, but I had Lowry and Kristaps. So
you know what? This is FIBA. I'm gonna go all in and grab my FIBA guard, TJ McConnell. Let's go, baby.
That's a FIBA pick if I've ever seen one. My God, the small guard, tiny kings. You got to do that.
It wouldn't be a draft if Drake didn't pick
every opportunity I get.
He's always on her teams.
So maybe I go with someone who can stretch. Do I want another dirty work guy? What do I need that person to be able to do? Let's just get really big. I want them to play my game. I'm going to go with Zubats.
Oh, damn it. That's what I was going to pick. Nice.
Why didn't you pick him earlier?
I wanted him last.
You waited till last to fill up your front court? Dude, what are we doing? I hope you don't take my 6th man.
I will. I think I will.
Miles Turner. That's what I'm doing.
Okay. All right, Voja.
There's a couple of guys on the point guard that I'm contemplating. I love Rokas Jokubaitis from Lithuania, but there's also a legend where I just realized that I didn't put him on my list we were talking, and I might go with him. He's a menace still. It's Campazzo.
Oh,
for the point guard.
He's out
It's
for revenge. He'll take out
yeah.
Serbia and he'll take out Team USA.
And the sixth man is just a designated sixth man. It's Clarkson. He
Yeah,
didn't
I
take
can
her.
see him doing pretty well in FIBA.
I mean, he was lighting it up for Philippines pretty decently.
That's right. He played last summer, did he not?
Yeah. Like, I think in this, you just put him as sixth, like in this lineup. I think you need someone just to go, like, hey, we need a flamethrower off the bench to try to combat the scoring. So that's my all-world non-qualified countries team.
I like the integrity of that strategy. I'm going with Donovan Mitchell.
Nice.
Okay. Thank you.
Who's your sixth? Let's see the big name.
I'm thinking about changing it now.
Who was it? It's your last pick.
Right, it's my last pick. I was going to go with Derek Lively.
That's what I should have gotten.
I saw Derek Lively make a corner three in the finals, and I'm like, he could like play stretch four and then just kind of attack the glass and all of this stuff. Use the youth. He's too young to know any better. And I love Derek Lively. I'm going to just go with Derek Lively.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go with Derek Lively. I think he's going to be on Team USA one day.
I would like to see these lineups play in a tournament of some kind, at least.
That would be kind of cool.
It would be fun. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and TJ McConnell's got a big burden on him creating for all these big guys and trying to.
We would get tiny kings
offense,
just going against each other. As a Brunson, McConnell,
Baku. Yeah.
Yeah, we would. Baku. Oh my God.
Yeah. So my team is Kawhi, Isaiah Hartenstein, KCP, TJ McConnell, Zubats, and Derek Lively.
Very nice. I went with Luka, Jalen Brunson, Jalen Brown, Cat, Miles Turner, and Donovan Mitchell.
And I have my Lauri Markkanen, Kristaps, Porzingis, Siakam, Danny Avdia, Facu Campazzo, and Clarkson team.
I feel like Voja's team does the best job of like making sure he like maximize the things that are good in FIBA, which is like these small click guards and also like being giant but having enough shooting.
Right.
And you have these very versatile forwards as well. So maybe I should have looked outside the NBA more.
I'm definitely lacking in like my FIBA construction knowledge. So
I think you actually have like
really
one of
missing.
the worst possible constructions of NBA players to play in a lineup in FIBA. Because they're all so ball dominant.
Yeah, true. Luka, Brunson, D. Mitchell. Oh my God, and even Jalen. Yeah,
and Cat.
Look,
and Jalen Brown.
I just
got scared of all these American players that played before because they all didn't really do well. Like they were fifth, third. Mm-hmm. It was just not a good.
Yeah, but if you put them all together.
Well, they did. Like they played Brunson and Jalen and Miles Turner.
We know Luka can do well with a ball dominant guard next to him.
That's true when it's Brunson.
Yeah. Well, you know what's your best point there that you did is Miles Turner. Is like Luka likes the stretch and rim roller,
right?
In a FIBA game. Like human. That's why I was like, if I'm left with Luka somehow on a third pick, he and Kristaps in FIBA should be like really good in theory, even though they were in Mavericks, but. You got rid of me on that dilemma to joining back together, but yeah, I'm happy. This was basically my starting lineup.
Voja, do you want to say anything else before we end the episode? This was a very long one, so thank you for talking with us.
First, thank you for having me. This is awesome. I miss talking about basketball sometimes on podcasts, so I hope I didn't go too long with you.
No,
I loved it. This is all up to Will to edit at this point.
Yeah, no, this was really great. I enjoyed it a lot. Well, let's enjoy the FIBA games as they come along. So I hope everyone enjoys listening to us too.
On our next show, we will do a show, I think, sort of mid to towards the end of group play. So before the knockout round start, and we'll do a check-in on all of these teams. I also wanted to let everybody know that we now have an Instagram, so you should follow us there at What's in a Game NBA. We post some short clips and things like that from our episodes, so definitely do that and use it to keep up with our shows. We might post updates there as well. And we're also on TikTok, so find all of our links on our in the YouTube bio. And we'll try to make sure that it's also in the description.
I was on vacation, so I didn't know we were on TikTok. So news to me.
Yes, Will just like gets updates for me, like this is what we're doing now, and he's just going along with it. Yeah, but besides that, like Voja, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was a really fun episode, and I'm really hyped up for the Olympics now.
Yep, thank you.
All right, listeners, thank you if you made it this far. I hope this episode helped you as you get into FIBA basketball and help you enjoy it more. Just remember, please like, subscribe, of course, share, hit the notification bell, leave us a review on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok now. And yeah, catch our next episode. And just remember, winning is fun and losing sucks.